Hi, my name is Dr. Don Wicker, and we're going to talk to you today about organizational behavior. We're going to continue our lecture series. This is lecture series number 9, and we're going to talk about leading effectively. What does it mean to lead effectively in organizational behavior? Today's objectives in talking about leading effectively, we're going to look at styles of leadership. We're going to look at transactional leadership, charismatic leadership, authentic leadership, and finally, transformational leadership. What do we mean by transactional leadership? Well, there's a couple of things. When we talk about transactional leadership, we're talking about contingent rewards, and we're talking about exhibiting management by exception, active management by exception, and passive management by exception. So when you think about transactional leadership, you're thinking about management by exception and, of course, rewards. Also, transactional leaders ask several different questions. They ask, what needs to be done? What is right for the organization? And of course, they develop action plans, which is very important, developing action plans as a transactional leader. And they also have the responsibility for decisions. And finally, they take responsibility for communicating to their organization. Charismatic leadership. Let's talk about charismatic leaders for a second here. Think about a person that you may know that has these particular qualities. Extraordinary personal qualities, shared values and vision, promotes shared identity. Think about that. Do you know anyone who possesses these particular qualities? And finally, extraordinary desired behaviors. Extraordinary desired behaviors. These are all signs of charismatic leadership. Implications for leaders. What are the implications? Well, leaders gain power because of their followers identify with them. It is rare in business, of course. Communicate competencies is critical, and that's an implication of leadership. Charismatic leaders possess, as well as have egalitarian empowerment personalities. Personalized charismatic leaders possess a dominant personality, which is unique in the leadership philosophy. Let's take a look at authentic leadership. What does it mean to be an authentic leader? In authentic leadership, we're basically looking at what creates hope for people. It reflects trust, shared positive emotions, raises optimism, and stimulates follower identification. Those are the characteristics of an authentic leader. Implications for leaders. What are the implications for leaders? Well, influencing followers' attitudes, behaviors through identification, hope, trust, positive emotions, knowing oneself and strengths and limitations. The ethics, of course, for open communication are central to implications for leaders, and focusing on being a servant to the followers and stakeholders. Those are basic implications. Transformational leadership. What do we mean when we talk about transformational leadership? Well, think about this. Transformational leadership provides inspirational motivation, creates intellectual stimulation, and fosters idealized influence, and shows individual consideration. Those are the characteristics of a transformational leader. Inspirational motivation. What does that actually mean? Well, displaying great enthusiasm and optimism. Gets followers involved and committed in a vision. And of course inspires others by what they say and what they do. Intellectual stimulation. Now, intellectual stimulation. What exactly do we mean when we refer to intellectual stimulation? Well, it urges followers to question assumptions, explore new methods and ideas, and take new approaches to old situations. It actively seeks out new ideas and creates solutions for followers. And finally, it doesn't criticize followers' ideas just because they're different from those of the leader. Intellectual stimulation, a relatively high tolerance for mistakes made by conscious followers, and focusing on what is the problem versus who to blame. You always hear that, people blaming, but not analyzing what the problem, how the problem originated, or what the solution is. And are willing to abandon systems and practice that are no longer useful, and views risk taking as necessary and desirable for long-term development and success. That's intellectual stimulation. Idolized influence. What do we mean when we talk about idolized influence? Well, idolized influence often considers the needs and interests of followers before and they're on their own, and may willingly sacrifice personal gain, and they can be trusted, and they demonstrate high ethical and moral standards. That's what we mean when we talk about idolized influence. Individualized consideration. What exactly is individualized consideration? Well, you may act as a coach, mentor, teacher, facilitator, enhance the rewards and individual differences, encourage open dialogue. And when we think about individualized consideration, we also think about monitors followers to determine if they need additional support or direction. Implications for leaders. What do we mean when we talk about implications for leaders? Of course, we need implications for leaders at all levels. All levels. We need to encourage reasonable risk-taking. Risk-taking is very important when you think about leadership. And we need to know when to reject traditional ways of doing things. And it's vital to handling difficult and complicated organizational threats. So when you think about all those things as far as implications for leaders, there's a lot that's involved as far as the stress of the organization or the risk of the organization. That basically concludes our lecture series number 9. We want to thank you for listening to us. Again, the topic was leading effectively, and we look forward to talking to you again in lecture series number 10.